Hi, my name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and every single Friday I give you a macro technical analysis video where I break down Bitcoin, the S&P, gold, silver, the DXY, and more. Jump on in with me. Let's have some fun. The first thing I'm going to start with is Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin finally gets its first monthly green candle. Halfway through the month, it's green. We did this last time, though, and we gave back a lot of the pump, so can we hold it this time is the question. Cool thing is, you really do have previous resistance here with these wicks. That's the all-time high, too, of that last cycle at 69,000. A key psychological number a lot of people are looking at. 68.5 was that hidden area below that we did bounce. So we get this nice bounce, right, back to the upside. This has to close green. You know, one thing to talk about that I haven't really mentioned since until like earlier today was this is a possible hidden bullish divergence. It would be an elongated one, but this doesn't come into this line to that line. If this went lower, I would have to say no. But because this doesn't go lower and this connects, tells me that we were somewhat oversold. If we use wick to wick here, and we did bounce off that 786 Fibonacci, that would be a great place for entry, right? You're not chasing. You're basically getting in when the fear is super low, or or the highest it's ever been, which is a low number. We use the fear and greed index when it's at a 10, anywhere between a 5 and a 10. That's the best time to buy Bitcoin. So that's what I do. You do whatever makes you happy. Sorry about that. Here we go. So back to the monthly chart. So the monthly chart, previous resistance becomes support. You know, you could expect a move out of the falling wedge back to the upside, and Bitcoin could be back at 112 by September 1st. So what I'm looking at here is to enter here with a stop below this wick, and that could end up playing out nicely on the monthly. So first things first, the monthly is getting more bullish than it has been. We do have to wait for the March candle to close. The 2-week chart, whenever that fear and greed is between a 5 and a 10, specifically below an 8, and it was at a 5, and the stochastics RSI are this low. Let me get them out of the way here. This low here below the dotted line, and I'll double click these so you can see what I'm saying. But when you're this low on the stochastics below the dotted line, you got to start thinking something's brewing here. That's a nice pump back to the upside starting to brew. So the 2-week chart with a bullish engulfing candle looking nice. What is the bullish engulfing candle? It's when you could put, like, see how you could put, if you go to the 2-week and you can take this red candle and put it inside of this green candle completely, it engulfs the candle. That's a bullish engulfing candle. You take a look at the weekly chart, and we get the same idea. Very big move here, and you're back above some resistances. What we want to see is the weekly close above these two tweezer tops here, 71,005. We want to see the weekly close above that. Right now, we hit kind of a resistance area. We're like right at the zone. So in the macro, weekly's going to close green. We want to see a continuation, and what we're looking for is an inverted head and shoulder. If you're bearish, this is going to hold resistance, and it's going to continue to make a bear flag, and then this is going to drop. So until we break above this resistance and we start to push through this gap of the VRVP, really until I see a candle close above like 89, 90K, or really we get, until we don't get past, as long as we stay below 786, I see that rejection there, and 90K. But my whole point is, if you can't get back into here and this kind of starts to hang out and consolidate, you're going to be making a bear flag, and that's likely going to dump. So right now, bear flag's still a possibility unless we can break out. We're getting the beginnings of bullishness. And I did long the monthly. I put a stop below the wick, and I'm in right now. So I'm taking the shot that this is the bottom. And I bought so much Bitcoin spot on this wick. So I am taking a shot that this is the bottom for Bitcoin, and we're likely going to start making a move up. But certain things has to happen. We need confirmation of a monthly candle to break, or a weekly candle to break above 71,004, preferably 71,500. You look at the daily, and the daily is starting pretty nice. And it did just break out of what, to me, looks like a symmetrical triangle. So we had this symmetrical triangle. We broke out. But on the daily, you can still position us here. If I take away the moving averages for a second to make it nice and clear, we can still position ourselves inside of what looks to me to be a bit of a rising wedge, right? So still not amazing here for the daily. Bit of a double bottom. We held that level really nicely at 65.8. But we got to get a daily candle close above resistance, which right there is going to be 72,750, really 73K. I even say 74, but as long as we close a candle above 73,000, we continue a move all the way back up to 88,000. So this will be a big deal. And so I'm watching the 1 hour, the 4 hour today, and really mainly the 4 hour, because we made this tight channel that we broke out of here, see? And some could say, we're back in the pattern, and this could just give us another chance to go at the breakout. It is a symmetrical triangle. They break up the length of this base here, and it could go either way. If it breaks down, you're coming for a double bottom at 65.8. If it breaks up, you're headed somewhere to about 79K. I'm more bullish because when I slap on the moving averages, we're above the 200, touching the 21, and we're getting tight. I'd like to see about 8 hours more of consolidation on this low volume weekend. There's a chance we pump this weekend for Bitcoin and we make a gap, and we go to 79,000. So, or at least maybe even to 75. But right now, Bitcoin looks more bullish than bearish to me because it's above the 200, above the, above, and touching the 21. See, it's above the 200 moving average, touching the 21. That's a key strategy that I use to make a lot of money in many different scenarios on many different assets. So I like it, but it does look like we're going to go sideways for at least 4 to, I'd say, 12 hours. And you have to remember, this can dump, and you'd see us come back to 65.8. Let's see if we can get this move further to the upside. I'm more optimistic that Bitcoin can bounce and pump. When we come back next week, Bitcoin will be higher because we will have pumped. So that's Bitcoin in a nutshell. Take you from the monthly to about the 4-hour chart. Now let's take a look at the total market cap of all of cryptocurrency. It's going to be basically the same. Bitcoin dominance is pretty high right now based off what we've been seeing. And so whatever Bitcoin does is really going to control most of the market. End of the day, we could go through this, but we really don't have to. It's the same exact chart, and you're watching to see if this 4-hour candle breaks out. Again, you had a breakout, fake out, you're back in the pattern. The bullishness is that you're above the 21, above the 200, touching the 21. And every time I've seen that, way more, I'd say 80% of the time we do get a breakout. So it tells me that the whole market wants to kind of get a move, and we might actually pump, somewhere into Friday into Saturday night. So I like this idea. You could put the stop below this low here. You're at a 3.28 risk reward ratio. So same idea, and this is Bitcoin in a nutshell, controlling the total market cap. Let's take a look at Total 3, which is the market cap of all the altcoins excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And let's just break that down on a bigger scale and whittle our way down. Same thing here. We're going to look at the monthly. And what's interesting is, aren't you in a beautiful uptrend? So this is altcoins. It's interesting. Like, altcoins are in an uptrend, right? And you can kind of make this idea here. So what we're just looking for is we're looking for alts to bounce. So if Bitcoin can bounce, altcoins can bounce. And we could possibly get a rally like Solana, XRP, stuff like this. And then there's a chance this breaks out parabolically. So I'm not putting it past it, but it tells it would take some time, and it would be by December 1st of 2028. But we could be at new all-time highs for the altcoins. So that looks promising. The support of resistance has to hold. We're very oversold. You'd think, it's starting to show signs of a bounce. We need the monthly candle to close green, and then we could possibly get a reversal here. So the altcoins don't look too bad. I'm happy I didn't sell all of them. And there could be I like Solana here. I like Chainlink. I still like SWI and SEI. Nothing has changed about the tech, just the price. Let's take a look now at what's happening with U.S. Tether dominance and Bitcoin dominance. So the first thing I like to look at is Bitcoin dominance. When Bitcoin struggles, right, dominance can go up or down. But when you see the market come back strong, the first thing that's going to pump is Bitcoin dominance. So what I expect is for this exact flag to play out and mimic Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes on a run, it's really going to come from geopolitical unrest, ETFs buying back in at lower prices after unloading a bit and balancing that, their sheet. So, again, it's 50-50. This could go either way. I just want people to know that. I'm not, I'm leaning more bullish because you're above the 200, touching the 21. That gives me a higher probability of a move to the upside. You can backtest this strategy of what I taught you and just re-see it, and you'll see most of the time when you're on the 21 above the 200. You will get a move. That time we did it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen for sure. That was a beautiful sign. And ended up taking to the downside. So I'm looking for this to follow through with Bitcoin's move to the upside, which would tell me that Tether dominance should be struggling. And it actually had some promise that it could pump. So let's take a look at what we see for Tether dominance. So Tether dominance came up, made a nice pump, and it started to kind of make a flag here on the daily. It was also very overbought, and then it started to slowly come down. I see it. It's doing what Bitcoin's doing. You see what I'm saying? It's like how Bitcoin has bottomed with the Adam and Eve. So it's Bitcoin upside down. If you flip it, there's Bitcoin, right? Tether dominance and Bitcoin are completely, they're basically inversely correlated, right? This to me looks more like a descending triangle. It's funny. I never even saw Bitcoin kind of like this. And now I see Bitcoin a little differently. And now I can see Bitcoin differently. But that looks like a descending triangle that's going to eventually like dump on itself. So I see this hanging out and eventually going lower, making the right shoulder and dumping. See the bigger yeah, so we're still on point with this taking over and dumping down. Not taking over, but dumping down. I see Tether dominance taking a move to the downside. I always seg my way into the dollar index at this point because it makes sense right after the DXY. When we look here at the dollar index, you can see that this is strong. And the dollar doesn't have to dump for Bitcoin to pump. They can pump together. And what's happening is, you're getting a little bit of movement here in a strong dollar. Why? War. More government contracts, right? It creates movement. And it actually brings a strong dollar. Whenever I've seen war, the dollar can get strong. So, interesting, we were looking at this flag. We thought it could break out. You can see how we had it written. We just had it over here. We moved it slightly. The dollar is breaking out, and it is going up. I do see it eventually hitting a pretty hard resistance somewhere around, $100. But wow. Let me take a look at the big picture for the dollar, because right now in the interim, just the temporary, it says it's breaking out. The daily got above the 200. It formed a flag. It pushed out pretty nicely. Again, it's coming right into resistance. So it's not like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Like right here, it's right at resistance. So we'll see. There's a chance that the dollar does get rejected here. But because the moving averages are turning and I'm seeing this moving average push up, looks to me like the dollar may want to make a bit of a move. Also, just now on the 4-hour, the dollar was bullish. It was inside this bull flag and it broke out. I see continuation for the dollar, at least for now. It says it's going to continue up. So I see the dollar pumping with Bitcoin, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? They've pumped together before. And then once the dollar starts to pull back, Bitcoin can go on its major, bigger run. So, hey, the DXY rate going up a little bit, which isn't bad, right? Help stabilize some prices. So let's take a look now at gold. Yeah, I want to see what's happening to gold. Laid off gold for a while, haven't looked at it. So we looked at gold, we traded it, it pumped. I got out after that big pump, around 5,200. Started to fall off again and kind of head and shoulder itself. I wanted to see a bigger move. Is that going to happen? Let's take a look. I look at the weekly for gold, and honestly, it looks like we have to consolidate on just a bigger time frame. For me, it looks like gold's going to continue to pump. It may come down in a bull flag. I'm leaning for the first idea that I have out. Why do I do this? Because it doesn't really matter what gold does or where it hits. It matters when it hits the 21. Moving average to me are more important than the actual price or the price that it hits. You know what I mean? If I can get moving averages and support and resistance in conjunction, that's great. But I'm looking for this 21 to come into play here. To me, I see a sideways price action. I see gold really just no one's going to buy it, no one's going to sell it, but I don't see it leaving either with. So I see it going sideways. Silver was the idea that kind of had a play behind it. Same idea with silver, though. We call that bottom. It got a bounce. It consolidated. I have not traded silver. Honestly, it looks a little sketchy, right? Same thing here with silver on the weekly. I would open silver up. And to me, I feel something like this. I feel like it will get a bounce and it will consolidate. And we'll get up and down price action. And the time to get back into silver says sometime in late April. And then we're going to get a catalyst for some type of move to the upside. I could be wrong. Silver could all of a sudden take a massive dump down. Bitcoin could become the best store of value, and that becomes the story. That's what we're looking for. But I see tightness and continuation. Right now, the DXY is pushing. That's not going to help silver or gold. Let's take a look at the S&P futures. And again, if you jumped in those trades late, like you needed to speculate on them like early like we did. I still see a bounce in the S&P. I know a lot of people think the stock market's going to dump. I will tell you, with the dollar pumping, that's not good. When the dollar dumps, it's good for stock market. When the dollar starts to go up, people are going to get back into T-bills, and they're going to get into treasuries and stuff like that if the dollar is strong, right? And then they're going to get out of risk on assets. When the dollar starts to fall, they get out of that, and they get back into riskier assets. I'm still looking for a bounce, and I know I've been saying this here, and I called it, and I said it here, and I did call it, and they still keep trying to mow us down. It does have kind of an Adam and Eve double bottom view to it, and it doesn't look amazing, I will tell you. And war isn't great right now for the market, right? It kind of gives a lot of fear, and it pushes people to buy and sell stocks and buy things like gold. But I'll tell you what. I know there's Fed injections coming into the market. I know the daily is again at this 200 moving average on a Friday afternoon. I'm going to again sound like a broken record, and I'm looking for this bounce. I still believe this is a good place to DCA and to the S&P. I'm going to say the exact same thing to the NASDAQ, right? And again, I could be wrong, and let's delete this work here. But look, that hasn't been stopped out yet. It's still a valid idea. But the idea is this. I mean, we're bouncing off the 200 moving average in a falling wedge. Like, what goes down must come up. They've been suppressing the NASDAQ now for weeks. I just feel like it has to make a bounce. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. It looks like it's coming. That's a beautiful place to get in near the 200 moving average. You're pretty close to the 21. I do see by next week, maybe it's somewhat sideways, 2-3 weeks from now, I say we're here and we're starting to consolidate, and then the bigger move comes. And again, this keeps telling me somewhere May or June, these markets open up and we go to a new all-time high. So things look pretty good for me on the macro when it comes to the S&P and the NASDAQ. I like these lower entries, and there's no reason to chase. The dollar is a little, we got to watch the dollar. That's been pushing up a little bit. And Bitcoin looks like it's starting to, hold some key areas that are strong. So I like what I'm seeing so far. It's definitely very interesting. And I'm happy that I bought Bitcoin on the lows at 60K when the fear was at 5. It looks like we're pretty close to calling maybe a macro bottom here. I think I'm 90% sure that we've bottomed, because every single time we've hit a 5, Bitcoin has bottomed for at least 4 to 6 months after that. So it's never not happened. And we hit 5, I believe, twice. So I'm going on a whim there. That indicator is strong, and the stochastics RSI. And that is your update for Bitcoin on the macro scale, and for the S&P, the NASDAQ, gold, silver, and more. I hope you had a good time watching this video. If you came to my channel and you like this type of technical analysis, please come to my channel Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I can't wait to see you there. I also run a Discord. Go to cryptolifer.com to find out more. I appreciate your viewership. I love you. I care about you, and I want to see you win. I'll see you on the next video.